Alright, so it's time to record Act 4 again. This time on board. A lot of it is going to be the same, but feel free to skip around a bit and see the scenes on the boat. I'm going to read the whole thing again anyways, because some of it might be different. I'll try and choose some things I didn't choose last time. Manual 5.4 Context Backlash. General wear and on the gestural gear mounting apparatus 5A-1 may result in undesirable play between teeth and the context and history state machine gears, causing stuttering, slippage, resetting, skipping. Well, this is not at all helpful. Table of Contents. 0. Introduction. 1. Installation. 2. Orientations. 4. Order of operations. 3. The passage of time. 5. Gestures. 6. Final notes. Maybe you ought to read it back to front. Yo. My savior, our friend here is in a bad way. Any insight? Jew-bug. Time to put that mammoth out to pasture, Will. Oh, I feel certain she's got a few trips left in her. If only she had a more capable surgeon. Sadly, mechanics are in short supply down here. I think the setting is too romantic. It scares them off. What brings you down to the Echo tonight? I always end up here eventually. The river's like that. It always has been. We picked you up at the Bureau tonight. Never seen you that far upriver before. I hope that doesn't mean you've been traveling to Zero. The Bureau has great acoustics. You've got that right. Wow, I could sit in there for hours, just listen to my breath reverberate through that weird architecture. Still, it's always good to be back on the river. I've been traveling this river for more than half my life, more or less alone. I think I've seen it change quite a bit in all those years, but I can't say for sure. The water has a peculiar way of making a person forgetful. Some nights I remember the place, but it's full of strange new people, and some nights I meet an old friend on an unfamiliar shore. I wonder which kind of night this is. Act 4, Scene 1. The Mucky Mammoth. Man, I slept terribly. I'll record this anyways, so we'll get through it. Will singing quietly. For we on mold and whiskey fed and to Shannon. Oh! What gears? What gears? Probably. Who knows? First thing I tried, anyway, down here by this little blue box, I took all the gears out and tried each one by hand, and then I loaded them back in again. That took care of the grinding sound, but our trunk keeps doing that sparking, clanging, weeping thing. To be honest with you, I'm not really qualified for this work. Kate's a friend, you know how it is, don't you? How do you two know each other? So, ever walked through rolling farmland? Sure, along the highway. Along the highway, that's what I mean, or smaller roads. Well, I sure did. I slipped under or over fences, I walked barefoot with the seeds when they were just planted, and tilled the earth with my toes. Hey, I should tell you where I left my shoes. Did you know I'm a classically trained organist? It's true. Look at these long fingers and pedal-gripping toes. It doesn't matter. A minor in French literature earned me a position teaching Arturo Zola at the university. Well, some shitty governor cut state funding for our department, and I was demoted to mopping floors, running wiring through walls or into dangerous places. I even operated the soundboard at the student theater. Left my shoes there at the university. It was a protest. Walk without shoes for something important or tragic. I ended up by the shore, and soon I was drifting along the Echo. ran for a while above ground then. It doesn't anymore, but I prefer subterranean waters anyway. Kate brings me along, and I record what I see and hear. I try to help with maintenance. I drop off the mail and pick up the trash. On occasion, I take the helm. Anyway, that's all I try to remember anymore. I listen to the river stories, and my own stories get fainter and fainter. Oh, if you talk to Kate, could you ask her, when she stops for gas, could she pick me up a scratch ticket? Thanks. How's that cold river spray treating you? Says Kate. I thought I saw you squinting. It's hard water, you know, hard on the eyes. It still irritates mine a little, and I'm piloting a tugboat through it 6 nights a week. Don't be too shy to close them in public. Your eyes, I mean. People will just assume you're thoughtful. Any tea? Oh, peppermint, definitely. Bitter hedgehog, dried spring agaricus, split gill powder, and greening goat's foot. Back to Shannon. How far are we from Dogwood Drive? The echo's dicey tonight. Bad luck for you. Expect waves and diversions. Dogwood Drive is by the Silo mail stop, but we need to spend some time on the indirect route before we hit your stop, okay? And there's other business. Mail to drop off, garbage to pick up, and a few favors to execute, all dotted on the riverbanks from here to there. I hope you enjoy the trip on our little mammoth. Take advantage of all the amenities. Fresh air, cozy bunks, hot tea, the video room. There's some pretty interesting tapes down there, actually. Unusual, I mean, weird. Watch out that VCR doesn't take your hand off, though. It's untrustworthy. What's wrong with the VCR? I could take a look. Oh, please do. I don't know anything about electronics. Maybe try a few different tapes. You get the picture. I saw you talking to Will. He's an old friend. Don't be fooled by that burned-out aura. He's a smart and kind man. I think his only vice is those silly scratch tickets. Speaking of which, we're coming up on our next stop shortly, refueling and picking up a few things. Well, eyes on the road. Ezra runs up to Shannon. Whoa, slow down, it's slippery up on the deck. You have batteries? Yeah, of course. What for? Johnny said I could use his tape recorder, but it needs a battery. Oh, fun. Well, Shannon searches her pockets. Here's 4 different kinds. Surely one of these should fit. Thank you. I can't go with the inside, but I think I can still talk to other people. You got your batteries, small man. Go get you some tape. Johnny to Junebug. Really? Junebug, you were entranced. You don't remember this? It's okay. We've all seen a lot of concerts. Back to Junebug. Cyrano opened. His tape machine was broken or something. It got really cosmic. Johnny. Right, at the flower shop. I remember that show. Sorry, Clara. Clara. Well, you have a second chance to hear it tonight. Johnny to Ezra. That was fast. Got the batteries? Let's see. Perfect. This one will do. So you hit this button here to record. Hold it right here so you don't cover the microphone with your hand. I bet you'll find a lot of good sounds just around the tugboat. There's plenty of tape in there, so don't be stingy with it. Just record anything that catches your ear. It really changes the way you listen. For the better, I mean. Ezra. How long's the trip? Junebug. We've got a ways to go, and this boat makes pretty frequent stops. I think Kate said we're moving pretty slowly tonight, too. Weather. Johnny. Kate said we could stop at the rum colony. Cyrano's playing. Junebug. Well, that's ideal. I'm supposed to meet a lady there to look at some old engine parts about 3 hours ago. Tony, 3 hours goes fast at the rum colony, ma'am. I'll bet she's still there. Clara. I hope we don't stop there too long. My concert is soon. I don't want to keep them waiting. Junebug. Nah, it's river time. Nobody expects you to be punctual. Johnny to Ezra. Hey, why don't you give that tape recorder a try? See if that cat over there has anything he wants to say. Clara. I often use found sounds in my music. If you find some interesting sounds tonight, you can help me out. Conway. You know, it's the strangest thing. I can't remember why I came up here. Fresh air, said Shannon. Maybe. It's homey in that cabin, though, and warm. It's just that thing about, what was it, when you walk through a door? When you go into the kitchen for something, and as soon as you pass from one room to another, you forget what you wanted. You have to walk back out just to remember. Like you left a part of your brain behind. Hey, I wonder if I could follow that brain crumb trail all the way back to the room I was born in. Mike cranes his neck over the railing. You're driving for hours. Get any sleep? You found beer. There's a cooler full down there. They say it just floated by, if you believe that. Got caught on some netting and they hauled it aboard. A bounty. Anyway, there's a sign by the cooler. Take what you need and leave the rest. Shannon leans over the railing and looks at the river below. There's all kinds of trash down there. Could have fallen off the hull back there. I think that kid was playing in the trash barge earlier. Shannon, should I be worried? I'm fine, says Conway. Shannon, sure you are. What's up, huh? You look like there's something you want to ask. Fine, you can ask it. One question. Did you really have to go to work at hard times? It didn't seem so bad, did it? It's a way to live. I mean, rent a bed, eat at the cafeteria. Not like I have a choice. I think you do have a choice. I've got to repay my debt. Hell, I should be grateful for the opportunity. If you want to die with any dignity, you've got to settle up. That's why it's such a damned shame when people go sudden. I'm sure I talk too much. Everyone on this river does. The problem is that we listen twice as much as that. We're only telling you half the stories we hear. Kate told me I ought to have been a photographer. She said, you have an uncanny way of having been in the place at the time the thing happened there, and that's the hardest part of taking a photograph anyway. Nice of her to say, but it isn't true. Though I know just about every story on this river. Most of them I've picked up second, third, or fourth hand, and so on. Listening, see? Now, I know what you're going to ask, so I'm going to answer it. Yes, I'm sure they're all true. I personally believe a story gets more true as it's tossed around from brain to brain, and the whole community brings their insight to bear on the brittle facts of experience. There are a few Echo River stories I witnessed directly. I saw that big owl migration pass through. You might have heard about that. I was there when the old train station flooded. I saw the ghost of Stephen Bishop brew up a batch of white lightning on a raft. Or anyway, I talked to a few sailors who'd recently crossed paths with him, and I suspect sampled his wares. One night, when I was working on the Mucky Mammoth, we picked up a gaggle of passengers headed down to a mail drop by the silo of Late Reflections. I knew a couple of them in passing, a pair of traveling musicians who I often encountered on the river. The others were strangers to me at the time. A young woman, a small boy, and an old man whose name I didn't catch. Oh, and a smelly dog. We docked at the gas station so the mammoth could refuel. Ezra stayed on the tugboat and looked around the map room. Act 4, Scene 2. The Mucky Mammoth. Every time it's going to be the Mucky Mammoth, at least until the end. Look out. Ezra watches the lake drift by. He sees a rock covered with centipedes, a floating gas station, a dirty flock of bats, a school of green fish. Kate, what a relief. Thanks for taking the wheel. Our secret, okay? What's in that jug? It smells like eggs and fruit. Oh, that's homemade. Fermented green tea, pomegranate seeds, and a little bit of barley ergot. I call it Pekin kombucha. It helps me keep me awake. Wanna try some? No, I guess you probably don't. It smells off-putting, but it's actually sweet and lightly carbonated. I'm trying to kick a diet soda habit. So, how do you do at the helm? How do you know which way to turn? Says Ezra. I just keep my eyes open. That's the most important part. Speaking of which, looking outside. Oh, hey, there's the gas station. I was hoping we'd cross paths soon. It just kind of drifts around. You never know where you'll meet it. As you can see by this dial right here, our fuel station is pretty desperate. Our fuel situation's pretty desperate. I have a bad habit of letting that needle spend a lot of time in the red zone. It should only be docked at the gas station for a few minutes refueling. You might just want to stay aboard. Oh, you like boats? I used to watch a cartoon about a boat. It was about pirates. They were all dogs, dog pirates, and one of them was a parrot, but he just acted like a normal parrot. Wait, that sounds great. I'll have to look out for that one. So, what else did I neglect to explain earlier? This area here is called the wheelhouse. All these gauges and controls help me understand what's going on with the mucky mammoth and her hull. This is a compass, but it doesn't work very well down here for some reason. I just go by landmarks, basically, and lights. Did you see those two lights on the sides of the boat? A red one and a green one? All the other boats have them too. Some are different colors or in different configurations. If we cross paths with someone, right away I can work out what kind of boat they're in and what direction they're going, even in the dark. It's all about looking up here. The other half of piloting this boat happens down in the map room. Speaking of which, Kate peers out the window. Have we passed the big rock that looks like a dinosaur yet? No, but we passed a tall building covered in Christmas lights. River folks call that the lighthouse. Used to be an art museum, but their collection went out of fashion, and they had to put it all in storage. I don't know how to put those Christmas lights up. I don't know who put those Christmas lights up. Some artist, I guess. It's weird. We should have definitely passed Dinosaur Rock by now. Kate looks out the window. Oh, wait. There it is up ahead, see? It doesn't look like a dinosaur. No? Well, maybe you're right. It's worn down a bit since it was first discovered. It's strange, though. According to my charts, we should have passed Dinosaur Rock before the lighthouse. But that's okay. Sometimes the charts need updating. Hey, Will is down in the map room right now. Could you run down and help him adjust the charts to move the lighthouse so it comes a little earlier on our route to then Dinosaur Rock? Map down. The map room is down below deck on the lower level, right next to the sleeping quarters. I'll get on the intercom and let him know you're coming. When you're on the boat, you can record some sounds. Not that much is happening. Wonder how Conway's doing. Hey! What's up? You look like you're about to fall asleep. Nah, I don't think I could ever fall asleep on a river. You're right, though. It's been a long day. Should maybe find some coffee to go with all this beer, or just move on up to the real stuff. Doesn't weigh you down as much, you know? No, of course you don't. Hey, what am I talking about? Who knows? Ezra. Okay, bye. Oh, Conway's lost in the sauce. Shannon. Wow, this is harder than it looks. Clara. Yeah, it takes a certain kind of ear. Oh, like perfect pitch? Do you have that? Not really that, it's more like muscle memory. When I'm playing the theremin, I kind of hear with my hands. I must sound ridiculous. No, I think I get it. Hello, map room. Oh, we've got some trees from that island. Filling up with gas. Well, Will. See those bugs at the bottom of the ship? Will. Salutations, small man. Kate says you have an adjustment for our charts. Good timing. I'm just checking my copies. That's how we keep our charts up to date. As we pass through a section of the river or the lake, I draw a new copy of the map and make adjustments for anything we see that doesn't match. Will points to a small drawing on the map. So, this is where we have Dinosaur Rock marked now. This little dinosaur drawing. I drew that. Cool claws. Thank you. Will points to another small drawing on the map. And this here is where we thought the lighthouse was, but now I guess we've got to move it back a bit. But how far, I wonder? Any ideas? Anything else you remember about when you saw the lighthouse? The water got really dark for a little bit. Aha, well that put the lighthouse somewhere in here. That's the only part of the chart before Dinosaur Rock where the lake deepens noticeably. Good work. That should do it for the new copy. Oh, I made some other corrections. Tucked in the banks a little, made this section deeper, and left off a shipwreck that must have washed away or been scavenged into splinters. Well, of course, it means a lot of clutter, all these old copies. Say, Will gestures to a pile of old maps. I was just about to throw this stack out. Maybe you'd like to hang on to one? They're out of date, but they could be fun to look at. These are mostly river charts, I think. Take a look through and see if one of them catches your eye. Ezra digs through the pile of maps. Ezra examines. A faded old map. Here, turn it around like... Yeah, there you go. There's no real idea of north down here, magnetic or otherwise, so we just hold the map with the current hold the maps with the current pointing down. The river curves clockwise around a few small islands. The note is scribbled along the margin. Islands just below the surface, only visible under bright light. They come and go, the islands that is. I still mark them if I see them. Ezra examines a crisp, clean map. That one I found wrapped in plastic, quite well preserved. I wrapped it up like that so the chalk wouldn't smear. Must have lost my pencil that day, I don't remember. The river curves clockwise. There are no islands marked, but a few other landmarks are indicated with chalk circles. Will pointing to a chalk circle. That one was the lighthouse, I'm pretty sure. Ezra examines a rough, torn map. The edges of the map are torn in gentle strips, probably by an idle hand with an absent mind. Oh yeah, I remember that day. Slow currents, boring. Not that I mind, it's healthy to get a little bored sometimes. A long tear runs in a clockwise curve along the paper, through the middle of the river. The two sides are held together by paper clips, woven into the paper like stitches. I'll take the old one. Nice. Well, thanks for your help with the chart adjustments. Our next stop is a bar called the Rum Colony. I guess you're not much of a bar fly, but you might like to run around on the beach. And the decor is... well, I'd be curious to hear what you think of it. That gas station isn't anchored to anything. It follows the current. We might run into it anywhere along the river. Kate just starts looking for it when she's low on fuel, and the echo provides. It's not usually on the lake, though. That was strange. Kate likes to wait until the very last minute to refuel. Yeah, she's a thrill seeker, and you'd never guess it. She seems so centered, doesn't she? Always thought so. Maybe that's why she enjoys rocking the boat a little. She knows she can stay upright through a little bad weather, so she can just relax and enjoy the chaos. Well, I admire her confidence. But there was plenty of chaos to go around that night already, with the ugly storm upstairs, though we didn't know the extent of the flood damage yet at that point. Anyway, my mechanical musician friends went ashore for a bit too, looking for some snack foods. Kate doesn't stock anything aboard the mucky mammoth that doesn't grow wild, and it's not to everyone's taste, or maybe just to stretch their limbs and charge their batteries. They came back looking kind of confused, though. I don't mean confused, like... not like when somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer, but you feel like you should, and... you get that kind of alarmed blankness in your mind's eye, not like that. They looked confused, like when you see two kinds of motor oil and they cost the same and you've never heard of either of them. And you read all the text on both packages, but all that new information just makes the choice seem even more impossible. You might be inclined to flip a coin, but how could you with something that important? Naturally, I assumed they met the gas station attendant, a man as anonymous and itinerant as the place itself. I assume he talked their ear off. Everyone on this river does. But I know that fellow well enough to know he wouldn't want us reminiscing on him now. So they came back aboard, Mammoth refueled, and we ambled on toward the Rum Colony. So yeah, these little travel segments are different. Shannon retreated to the TV room to browse the Mammoth's video collection. Act 4, Scene 3. The Mucky Mammoth. Thinks Shannon. The shelves are full of dusty tapes. Some have been relabeled several times, the stickers piling up thick on their spines. Funeral thing. An elderly couple sits on folding chairs in the middle of a studio. Undecorated, except for a funeral lily in a thin blue vase on the table. A TV studio, that is. The lights are a bit too dim to make out their features. She reads from a newspaper with unhurried efficiency. Gloria B. of Munfordville passed away on Monday at her residence. Survivors include her children, Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, and Bobby, all from Munfordville. A memorial service will be held at 7 p.m. Thursday at Hatton Huffman Funeral Home in Munfordville, with cremation to follow. She never knew Gloria. He thinks he may have heard the name, wondering aloud if she ever worked at a cafe down there in Munfordville. The woman who ran the place was once called Gloria, or maybe still is. They take a call. Someone who knew Gloria B., if not very well. The caller once installed a satellite dish at Gloria's house, a 900-square-foot, ranch-style home on 2 acres at a dead end, backed by weeds and pine. When the caller mounted the ladder up to Gloria's roof, she slid open her window and tugged urgently at his pant leg. He followed her gaze behind the house to 2 wild turkeys picking through the weeds. Gloria and the caller watched, silent as still, as the huge birds foraged obliviously into the trees. Then they installed the satellite dish. Sad, thinks Shannon. Birds. Blue-black morning swings across the screen. The birdwatcher tramps through the dewy grass. He stops with a wet grunt and rests the camera on a pile of rocks. Birds from Great Distances, Episode 12, appears briefly on the screen. He twists the lens by hand, pushing the frame past trees onto the road and coming to a halt, zoomed in on a fuzzy, fist-sized artifact resting on the momentary stroke of a telephone wire. Shannon and the birdwatcher observe. He breathes heavily, and she holds her breath, like she's afraid he might hear, afraid of distracting him or being discovered and contaminating his perfect isolation. Traffic picks up, indifferent. As the sky lightens, the black smudge in the center of the frame gradually becomes more prominent, but never in any greater detail. Not bad. More birds? How about art thing? At first, she thinks the video might be paused, but on closer inspection, she can see the edges of the frame shrinking inwards around the chairs, desk, and loose gray furniture of a sterile waiting room. She watches for a while, she's not sure for how long, several minutes. The zoom tightens, so gradually she sometimes forgets it's happening at all, and finally rests on an oscillating desk fan. She ejects the tape before the next part of the triptych begins. Okay. Shannon thinks the same. What's the mystery tape, huh? 3 question marks. Insert. Watch the TV. Come on. That awful hum. It seems to start before Shannon even hits play. Then there's the familiar room. There are the blank gray walls marked with tape, and school desks, and this time she notices a few more details. The murky carpet like standing water, some video equipment stashed in the corner, a row of lockers. And there's Weaver, looking serenely at the camera. As before, she starts speaking, and as before, there's no sound but that hum. Shannon finds Weaver's words coming back to her as they appear in captions on the screen. Weaver, mail, school, and these magnificent, tragic horses. Go underground as deep as you can go. The air is cool, and the earth is damp, and when you close your eyes, you are surrounded by the dead. Remember where that is? You'll find your way from there. I think this place is what you're looking for. Some of it will wash away soon, but I think you'll be happy here, even without the mail, school. The text repeats for a few minutes, and Shannon stops the tape. I think we can continue. Yeah, we can continue looking at tapes. More birds. It's raining heavily as the title Birds from Great Distances Episode 27 flashes on screen. She knows by the sound, the volley of rainwater on mud, tree branches, the rusted bed of an old pickup, and on the birdwatcher's own skin and hair. He swears under his breath. She can hear the rain there, too, in his wet breath and the wet exclamation of his palm, slopping the water from his forehead and shoulders. The camera is pointed at a cedar shed with one hinged door angling erratically in the storm. From this distance, it's hard to tell if it's damaged or simply left open. When the door swings wide, she can see that the shed is full of small boards, scraps maybe, or rough cut pieces meant for very small projects and then stacked carelessly on shelves in piles, quickly sorted and then forgotten. And there's the bird, a blue ball taking shelter on the shed floor, nested in scrapwood. Thinks Shannon. More tapes. There's always more tapes. What's the trivia thing? The words tip of your tongue and phone number, and a phone number occasionally superimposed on the screen. A few dozen people sit in bleachers, shouting out ideas, loosely moderated by a short woman with a microphone and laser pointer. One caller is trying to remember the name of an old friend she hasn't seen in years. It starts with a consonant. It's full of consonants, actually. There may be one or two vowels. It sounds long, but she doesn't remember having had any trouble spelling it at any point. The friend had brown hair? That's probably not helpful. Another caller is trying to remember a verb that means to make oneself vulnerable. Something like to expose oneself, but not quite that. To become emotionally, spiritually vulnerable, like a lover or a poem. A third caller just knows there was something he was supposed to do tonight. He offers some biographical background, a narrative of his day. He's unemployed, has no real hobbies, and has already eaten. Few ideas from the bleachers. Eaten. Never forget to enunciate. Whoops. What's on the weather? The on-screen title identifies this program as The History of Weather, Volume 3, Drought. Over footage of a dry riverbed, the program's narrator explains the differences between modern drought and ancient drought. The narrator proposes that modern drought may hardly be considered weather at all, since its severity and behavior are so influenced by human activity. Boring, thinks Shannon. Birds again? There are quite a few tapes. The video is blank. Shannon only knows it's playing because of the cicadas, and then Birds from Great Distances, episode 81. The screen isn't totally dark, of course. It's what she thinks of as video black, a deep mottled blue, noisy with magnetic decay and the cottony limits of the camera's sensors. It's the black she sees before she goes to sleep, the night black, the eyes shut against the streetlights black. She has more words for it than she expected. She wonders what words the birdwatcher uses for it. She wonders where he is, relative to the camera, or where the bird is, for that matter. Enough, thinks Shannon. Science. This may be the last of the tapes. I don't remember a lot of this. It looks like Will, though much younger, reclined on a sofa and taking calls. His arm, draped over the back of the couch, holds a bottle of something clear. People call in with stories of their encounters with the supernatural. Will offers little commentary or response. He acknowledges them. Sometimes he interrupts to clarify or repeat something back to them. Mostly he just listens and pulls from that clear glass bottle. Handmade banner strung above the couch reads, "I believe you." Will? Thinks Shannon. Shopping. How many tapes are there? woman sits at a card table with a lamp, notepad, and a beige multi-line telephone. A scrolling marquee reads, "Swap, shop, buy, sell, trade, or want to buy, call the broker." And then a phone number, repeating without pause. Eddie has fresh eggs to trade for a basil plant. A dozen eggs for one plant, which is a steal. Eddie's eggs are good eggs. Sadie has a bag of fine shells. No reasonable offer will be refused. Christopher is looking for a scrub plane in decent shape. It doesn't have to be too nice, just something to get a tabletop near to flat, with some oak that's been air drying in a barn for 20, maybe 30 years, and while it's true he could get the job done without it since he's got a nice heavy jack plane and a leather his grandfather used to use, he'd just as soon not fuss with grinding a camber onto it. And anyway, he has a little extra capital from a swap earlier in the week and wouldn't mind putting it down on a decent scrub plane before the cash burns a hole through his pocket. Carla is looking to trade typing services for calligraphy services, or vice versa. Broker takes notes and switches lines, but never speaks, drunk on the hum of commerce. Fun, thinks Shannon. She steps away from the tapes and wipes the dust from her hands. Shannon's done with tapes. Nothing's cooking, huh? Ooh. What does Shannon think of the boiler room anyway? Nothing. Why is the pointer coming up at such a strange angle? Kate and Will. Kate to Will. No, it was only a few notes. Slow and sad, like funeral music, you know? Will. I don't remember it being sad, just simple and unburdened. Maybe that's what funeral music sounds like to me, unburdened. To Shannon. Oh, hello. Kate and I were just trying to remember the Mammoth song. Kate. But neither of us have heard it for years. Will just found the mechanism. Will. In the mammoth's belly, hidden in gritty matted fur. It's like a big music box, a slowly spinning cylinder covered in metal pins that pluck her dulcet guts and pump the bellows in her bowels. But some of the pins are rusted and worn away, easy to replace if you can ever remember what the notes were. Kate, did I hear you browsing the archive next door? Find anything good? Shannon. I found something pretty unsettling, actually. Kate. Oh dear, I didn't even know what's on half these tapes anymore. They used to all be movies and that kind of stuff. I like nature documentaries especially. Some people left home movies, or little art videos they'd made. But that damned VCR devours anything you leave in it. It just switches into record mode at random, I think, and picks up whatever's coming in over the antenna. Of course, the only station we get down here is that WEVP, community television, you know. They've got that show with the gentleman playing banjo in his birthday suit. I'm sure you've seen it. Well, oh yes. Kate. And if there's no tape in the machine when it tries to start recording, it makes this awful sound, like putting a squeaky toy in a food processor. You can hear it above deck. Awful. That's why I put the sign up. Please do not rewind after watching. At least that way nothing gets taped over anymore. Shannon to Will. You were in one of those videos. I believe you, it said. Where was that taped? Kate to Will. You had a TV show? I never knew. Will, no. I don't believe I ever have. The title sounds familiar, but more like it's something I heard about, like secondhand information. Kate, well, they'll let anybody on there. That's the whole idea. Community television, or public access, they call it. Will, I would say it's possible that I did the show you saw and then forgot. Wouldn't be the first time. The studio... No, I can't say that I remember where WEVP is. Sorry. Hey, you should meet DeShiel. He did a lot of volunteer work for WEVP in the early days, wiring up antennas and relays, stuff like that. I think you two would have a lot to talk about. He works at the telephone exchange. Will, no, I'm afraid he's been let go. Hey, oh yeah? That's odd. He still takes the ferry to work every day. I'm sure he's at the telephone exchange right now, in fact. I dropped in there a few hours ago. We're shopping at the telephone exchange again shortly to deliver their mail and... I said shopping. We're stopping at the telephone exchange again shortly to deliver their mail and pick up their trash. You should go ashore when we do. Ask for Dashiell. I rarely miss a chance to lounge on the beach around the rum colony, and I do enjoy a drink, though I don't find their signature liquor suits me. But this time I elected to stay aboard and shoot the breeze with Kate over some mineral water. Still, I heard reports. I heard the old man went a little deeper in his cups. Not all that surprising. He seemed to have some momentum, and Patch mixes up some pretty magnetic drinks. Oh, if we're talking about the rum colony, I should tell you about Patch. He's the bartender, general manager, creative director. I guess that means he books the music. He's pretty much run the place for the last 7 years. A lot of folks assume he owns it, but that's not the case. The rum colony is owned by a dead man named Vernon. Technically, it would be owned by the power company who once bought a sizable interest from Vernon as part of a state-sponsored investment program, but a clause in that arrangement requires them to keep their hands off the day-to-day, and most, the profits, so long as Vernon walks the earth. The upshot of all this is that nobody came forth to identify the body. Patch is a good guy, though, kind, trustworthy, and he mixes a strong Mai Tai, if that's your thing. Valkyrie and Homer lounged below the deck. Below deck. Whoops. Act 4, Scene 4. I wonder where we'll be. The Mucky Mammoth. Whoa. Yep. That's Valkyrie and Homer. I think that's the whole segment. I forget, but I think that's the whole segment. While those two gentle beasts kept things under control aboard the Mucky Mammoth, I went ashore with the rest of the crew to make use of a public telephone. This is because I think the entire crew actually leaves. Maybe if you wait, Con will get on, but I don't think so. I called into my answering machine, which I routinely neglect for the intervals of months, to chip away at the pile. I checked on a client of hers. She's a birth doula, in addition to being a tugboat captain. Did you know that? Clara talked to her sister in Lithuania. Illness in the family, I gather. Anyway, the evening had a low point not much later on, so let's take a quiet moment here to listen to the river and reflect on the unburdened sleep of dogs. Ezra taught us a card game. Act 4, Scene 5. The Mucky Mammoth. Goodness, the Mucky Mammoth. I never would have thought. Clara draws a card. Clara, 3 deep breaths, 8 white doves, 5 slow hours. Kate draws a card. 7 blue petals, 3 deep breaths, 8 white doves, 5 slow hours. Clara to Kate, what are we listening to? Kate, just this tape a friend of mine sent me. They live in the desert. Vichinks? Something like that? How would you even pronounce that? Junebug, sounds good on the Mammoth's PA. Kate, yeah, that's the only way I listen to anything lately. Kate, to Ezra. Your turn, buddy. Ezra draws a card. 9 gray feathers, 7 blue petals, 3 white doves, 8 deep breaths, 5 slow hours. "Oh no, you forgot," says Kate, Clara to Ezra. "Aw, you're beaten at your own game." "Well, I'm just glad it didn't come to my turn again. You took a bullet there, my friend." "Ezra, it's a hard game, that's why I like it." "Wait, and we're only how many cards in now? 5 or something? I assume it would go to 52? Ezra, "Yeah, it's the whole deck." "Okay, so in some cases there may be a stalemate, though not with this crowd, I don't think." "Wait, we're all too soggy-brained. I know I am. I even take homemade supplements for it. Shade-growed lichen boiled with peel of lemon, and then frozen and crushed with oak leaves. It's a scalp massage oil. You can smell it if I get close. It dries the brain out a bit, which is helpful for good memory if I can remember to use it often enough in the first place. Oh, don't worry, the soggy brain has its benefits too. If your brain is soft and damp, new ideas can make a clear impression, like a boot in wet sand. But like wet sand, it can easily get muddied and wash away. So there's a trade-off, see? It's a shame we can't have it both ways, isn't it?" "What's this game called, Ezra?" "Ezra, forgetting game." Kate likes to give her passengers the opportunity to make some floating around money, and that lab pays cash in small envelopes upon completion of their little gauntlet of non-invasive tests. It's a project of the university. I think they're studying... I don't remember. The mammoth also collects their trash, mostly shredded paper, though Kate once says they left half a vending machine on the dock. But nobody seemed too interested in the lab stop that night. They stayed aboard and played a card game. I read a book. Let me tell you about it. It's set in a small town in the Pacific Northwest. The town is never named, but it's colorfully described. Woolly fog, broken coastline, provincial shopkeepers. The main characters are mail carriers. They're co-workers, Mimi and Jen. Mimi is older than Jen, but they seem to be at the same point in their lives. They like their work. They have a playfully antagonistic relationship with their boss. I actually only read a bit from the middle. Mimi confides in her friend about a traumatic event from her past. I don't know what the event was, exactly. I guess I would know if I started at the beginning, like the writer probably meant me to, but I never found that way of reading suited me very well. Death of a loved one, I think, something like that. In my life's work as the Echo River's premier anecdotalist, I've always found that a carefully excerpted moment is more powerful than any epic history. That's my excuse anyway for reading books from the inside out. As I stopped there, my eyelids were getting heavy. We were headed back to the lake and a chance encounter with the Iron Pariah. So, as I might have said before, a big perspective thing goes on with this game. One of the major themes is about perspective, especially with the way the zero works in the previous chapters. So a lot of what this act is doing is turning the zero on its head and making it so that your perspective is only one-sided between characters, but one-sided between which interactions you can even have. So if you stay on the boat, you do miss a bit, but you also hear a bit more about the people on the boat. I took a nap. Act 4, Scene 6. Which I guess is going back to the inside-outside theme from earlier too. Are you inside the boat or outside the boat? That's bullshit. I don't know. I'm just making shit up. Okay. Hey, just a quick one here. I'm going ashore to do some mushroom hunting. This little island is my favorite spot, and I figured we're already running late. What's one more unscheduled stop? I just need to find Will and get him up here to keep an eye on things. You know, I bet he's asleep. Could you run down and wake him up for me? Bugs are down on the lower level, right next to the map room. Thanks. I had the weirdest hiccup, oh my goodness. They have this thing running all the time? Jesus. What are Johnny and Junebug up to? Oh. Guess we're not part of that conversation. That's the river. Let's get a recording of Will. Recorded lecture plays from a tape machine next to Will's bunk. The lecturer, and even hinted that he had in mind a design for this device, as recorded in the diary and sundry observations. Why should personalities in another existence or sphere waste their time working a little triangular piece of wood over a board with certain lettering on it? The whole business seems so childish to me. If we are to make any real progress in psychic investigation, we must do it with scientific apparatus. Again, for Edison, a technical solution to every problem. He goes on to suggest the parameters of the apparatus and... Yes? A question in the back? James. Student, indistinguishable. Yes, this idea of personalities lingering after death does appear to be in conflict with Edison's theories about what he called life units, the subatomic entities that animate matter and then scatter to other configurations when a person passes on. But given Edison's emphasis on memory in cognition, remember, we're talking about the inventor of the phonograph and his colorful description of the swarm of interchangeable drone-like... Description of the swarm of interchangeable drone-like. Okay. Edison even uses the word proletarian life units animating the human mind. Oh, I see. His theory naturally posits that any individual life unit possesses on its own some fragment of memory. I don't know why I misread that. So, according to Edison, when life units recombine from, say, a soldier into, say, a flower, we may be able, using some apparatus, to coax out from the flower memories of war. The tape stops. Will wakes up. Will. Hello. What? Well, hello, small man. You caught me in my pre-dawn nap. I'm trying to sleep in little nibbles when I can. It maximizes my time in the threshold states. What were you listening to? Says Ezra. Well, I used to work at a university, and I'd always eavesdrop on lectures through the ventilation system. Anything and everything. I'm a polymath by nature. An old friend recently found this box of tape-recorded lectures next to the dumpster there and passed them on in the spirit of fondly recalling better days. This one is... Well, looks at the label on the tape. Reading, History of the Philosophy of Death. Yikes. I play these old taped lectures during my little nibble naps to absorb the information more easily. It's pretty effective. I wish I could do everything half asleep. Can't say I learned very much just now, though. I may have been too busy dreaming, a vivid narcotic fantasia aboard the... But those are always the quickest to dissipate. I'd better tell you about it now before the spell is broken. He takes a deep breath, focusing on the task of recalling his dream. I was small, not a child, an animal, maybe. I patrolled the corridors of a great iron ship, searching for scraps and mice, I think, and crying, always a weak and mournful mew. Other crewmen slumped in odd corners or lay drunk on the deck. The hull smelled of shame, defeat, and rot-gut corn whiskey. They dumped artillery into the water, tore their flags into cloth scraps, and made handkerchiefs to bury their sobbing faces. They drifted on Lake Lethe, drinking the cold black water and eating eyeless fish raw when at last they ran out of cooking fuel. They seemed... They drifted unlickly, drinking the cold black water and eating eyeless fish, raw when they at last ran out of cooking fuel. Okay. They seemed, in their disrepair, to forget even language. After an interval of years, the ship crossed a threshold into absolute silence. Silence. Except for my hopeless, whimpering cry. Anyway, that's all I remember. Ezra. Lately, I never remember my dreams. It's probably for the best. The images of dreams are often wasted on the waking. Well, I've got a stew to start. You may want to hurry back above deck. I believe we're about to pass the bat sanctuary. It's quite a thing to see. Excuse my misreading. I don't know what's going on. Kate came back from a mushroom hunting excursion with a small basket full of oddly colored caps and stems, no doubt delicious to a morsel. Of course, she intended to use many of them in her medical practice, to ease the pain, nausea, and anxiety of pregnant women, but I can usually rely on my charms to snare a bite or two. I have no preferences when it comes to mushrooms, by which I mean that I treat them all interchangeably. I prefer not to know their names or qualities before I cook them up and eat them. It's useless, after all. They escape your erudition, as the fella says. That's a good mushroom hunting island, I guess. It's plenty damp, and they've got the cypress trees there to grow on. Of course, they're not indigenous, the cypress trees, I mean. Everyone down here seems to agree that they were planted as some kind of marker or memorial, and most people will tell you they've got a distant relation or acquaintance who helped dig a hole or water a seedling. But nobody remembers what it was all for, and nobody left a plaque or anything. It's a shame. Looks like it must have been a lot of work. Well, at least we have the trees. And the mushrooms. Shannon helped me fix up a mushroom stew in the kitchen. It's interesting because Conway leaves here, but you can stay. Act 4, Scene 7, The Mucky Mammoth. Or was it 6? I'm not keeping count. And add a few of these really big caps with the slimy gills, says well. I couldn't say slimy, moist. I shouldn't say slimy, moist. The lady in the video called for portobello, but I prefer never to know a mushroom by name. Ezra. We're stopping at a restaurant soon, right? Sure. Salmonitas. Itas. Whichever. The stew is for tomorrow. It has to simmer all day. Some things are just better done slowly. We've added the anonymous mushrooms, so next I've got the recipe video on pause next door. I used to follow a recipe I learned from Ida herself. The best cook you're gonna meet on this river. Of course, it had a few secret ingredients. She has the good sense to preserve some mystery around her cooking. Better for business. Ida is so shrewd. She swore me not only to secrecy, but to ignorance. I had to promise to forget the recipe just as soon as I'd cooked it. Let me tell you, it's not so easy to forget something on purpose as you may think, my friend. Not so easy. See, it's strange because I don't remember doing a second run in the past in order to see all the boat sections, but I remember almost everything that's happened here, clearly. What Shannon think? The video, crushed tomatoes, salsa, or even a little ketchup. Here's the thing, nobody has to know. Throw in some more of that spice blend we threw together earlier. Stir all that up and crack a beer, baby. You'll be here for a while. Ezra, what did you just say to do? Will's trying to make the stew right now. She just said to add something red. I saw some maraschino cherries in there. Maybe I can help him figure it out. I've got kind of sucked into this program. Something about this sound reminds me of an art exhibit in Chicago. I don't know why. Well, and even that wasn't enough to convince her. So I trained rigorously in the art of forgetting, studying for months under a master amnesiac. Finally, I learned to forget so quickly and accurately that I was able to convince Ida to share with me the most obscure secrets of her kitchen. Goodness, as a demonstration of my trustworthiness, I forgot the names of my own parents right there in front of her. Every time I wanted to cook this legendary stew, I'd call Ida up on the telephone and ask her for a quick, temporary reminder. Here on the boat, we haven't got a phone line, so I have to seek out culinary wisdom on videotapes of cooking shows. So, back to the matter at hand. Next, we add some crushed tomatoes, says Shannon. Will. Oh, it's you. I thought... Never mind. Hello. I don't have any crushed tomatoes. I have some ketchup. Wait, to Shannon. Hey there, could I ask you... To Will. Wait, why are you cooking? We're stopping at Salmonitas in 20 minutes. Will. It's for tomorrow. Okay. Oh, well, just don't forget about it this time. I'm not scrubbing up any more boiled over sludge. Shannon. Sorry, listen, I have a favor to ask. There's a package for the telephone exchange, and I can't get the mammoth back here. Could you deliver it for us? That guy I mentioned from the TV station, Dashiell Morris, works there now. Thought you might like to chat with him anyway. Thanks a lot. I've got the dinghy all ready to go. Maybe take your friend with you. One of you can man the outboard motor, and the other can aim the flashlight. It's dark. Act 4, Scene 8. I was correct. Echo River Central Exchange. I think I'm remembering now. The first time I played this game, I elected to stay inside here, and then got this boat segment anyways. So you're forced to see Conway leave. Kate, thanks again for your help. This is about as far as the tugboat can go. Noise and lights disturb the bats. So you'll pass through the bat sanctuary, which is really nice, by the way. Be sure to check out all the plaques and stuff for cool bat facts. Plenty of time. Anyway, the Echo River Central Exchange, Consolidated Auxiliary Switch number 30, they changed the name when the power company took over anyway. It's just on the other side of the bat sanctuary. This package is going to Poppy. She's an operator. The operator. We'll meet you on the other end at Salmon Ida's for our scheduled early breakfast stop. Just follow the river. Can't miss it. Oh, I almost forgot. You may or may not be interested. There's this kind of weird memorial sculpture on your way in, just before the bat sanctuary. I always recommend people at least stop and take a look at it. It's really sort of... I don't know how to say it. You should check it out. Okay, bye. You know what, I'll read everything again, I don't care. Sign. We claim these helmets in the names of the folks who wore them, and we place them here in their memory, but also as a spit in the greedy green eye of that power company who brought up our old mine and traded our brothers and sisters' safety for a little more yield, but only yielded 28 good men and women dead when the walls collapsed and the tunnels filled with water. Their lungs were black, but now they're washed clean and full of water too, and swept through hidden tunnels into some awful cave we will never find, and so we guess the water buried them for us. So let this heart here be the marker for their grave. And if any son of a bitch from that power company wants to take back these helmets as company property, just you try it and see what will happen. Conway. Hey, Elkhorn. That's the mine we met in, where your folks, worked. Looks like it's been here a while. I'm sure as hell wouldn't mess with it. Do you think whoever wrote it is still that angry? I don't think you ever forget anger like that. No, I suppose you probably don't. This probably stirs up I mean, how do you... It's fine, I'm glad this is here. People should remember this happened. Well, here we are, remembering. And I didn't even know it the first time around, but here I am remembering it now. It's a fine memorial, I guess. Conway. What? You're looking at me like I'm crazy. Shannon, are you feeling okay? Oh, sure. It doesn't hurt anymore. My leg, it's just kind of numb. Like it's not there. My shoulder too, actually. It's an old one, though, from an accident. I'm lucky I just had some nerve damage there, or it probably should have been a lot worse. You know, those guys from the distillery are just making the best of a bad situation, just like the rest of us. Hey, one of them said to me earlier that they could even help me take care of these medical bills for my leg, you know? Get it all together on a plan, consolidated. Hey, if we can find her, maybe Weaver could get you out of this thing with the distillery. She has some experience with them. Oh, sure, could be. Anyway, I have a feeling it'll all work out. Even for me? Hey, why not? Seems like we're getting pretty close to finding your cousin, right? And besides that, you're young and smart, plenty of time to bounce back from... whatever. Listen, that old truck I've been driving belonged to my boss, Ira, Lisette's husband. To be honest, Ira didn't like me very much, but somehow Lise got it into her head that he would have wanted me to have that truck someday. Maybe to make up for all that yelling he did, or maybe so his ghost could hold it over me, just one more thing to feel like I owed him for. Anyway, they got their old trucks at the distillery, and now that antique shop is closing up, I've got no use for that old truck. I was thinking you could take it. That's very generous, but I don't need a truck. You could drive it around while you figure out what's next. Hell, you could sleep in it if you need. Ooh, it's big enough. Well, just think about it anyway. You'd be doing me a favor, you know? One less thing to deal with. Sign. Visitors to the Echo River Kentucky Tomb Bat of Artificial Hibernaculum and Sanctuary are asked to take extra precautions in order to prevent the introduction of foreign fungal contaminants and the spread of white nose syndrome. Please do not visit the sanctuary during the same day in which you visited any cave known or suspected to host bats infected with white nose syndrome. Please do not leave your vehicle. If you must leave your vehicle, please remove shoes, clothes, jewelry, headwear, eyeglasses, to ensure you do not bring any foreign spores ashore with you. Please do not touch any bats or structures. The Kentucky tomb bat is confused by light. If you are using a lantern or other artificial light source, be aware that it may attract and confuse bats. If you are approached by bats, do not panic. Relax. Stop your vehicle and switch off your light. Never touch a bat. Bat fact. Ever talk with your mouth full? Bats do it all the time. Bats talk in extremely high frequency clicks, too high for humans to hear, but they use their powerful ears to scan for the echoes of these ultrasonic clicks. By comparing very subtle differences in the time these echoes take to come back, differences of just millionths of a second, bats are able to picture their environment with enough accuracy to catch a flying insect. Once a bat has caught an insect in its mouth, it's still flying and so it still needs to avoid running into anything. So bats keep clicking away even while they munch on a tasty bug snack. It may be poor table manners, but it's crucial for surviving in the dark. Conway, I wonder how the other bats know whether one of them is really talking or just chasing a bug. Shannon, sometimes it's hard to know with people, too. Oh yeah, like, how about this weather? I guess there are layers to it, right? Sometimes you just need to get the other person talking so you can check their body language or hear what their voice sounds like, find out if they're friendly or angry or drunk. Bat fact: the Kentucky tomb bat's natural diet mostly consists of moths and other small insects that breed along the river. Here at the artificial hibernaculum and sanctuary, we use a combination of chemical snares and ultrasonic wards to repel all potentially contaminant-bearing insects, and replace them with our own locally bred and spawned hypoallergenic antiseptic pseudomoths, which we call the little gray nothing moth. You may be thinking that the other moths and insects the Kentucky tomb bat would have been eating are very much relieved that their natural predator has found another food source. Not so. We've installed netting and highly effective moth traps along the river where the Kentucky tomb bat normally hunts to balance their escape from the food chain. But eating moths isn't the only systemic contribution these bats make. They also produce a potent fertilizer in the form of guano that helps plant life thrive along the Echo River and shore the lake. Again, this sentence confused me. In the form of guano that helps plant life thrive along the Echo River and the shore of Lake Lethe. In order to minimize the sanctuary's impact on subterranean agriculture, we collect that precious guano here at the hibernaculum and manually distribute throughout the caves. It's a full-time job. Finally, sounds like a lot of work. Shannon. It's all fake, except for the bats. Finally, yeah, I guess so. Reminds me of that guy Donald and his crew down there with the computer. Right, it is reassuring to know someone's taking care of everything for these little bats. Yeah, who's gonna build the people hibernaculum? Maybe they'll build it ourselves. Maybe we already did. Like the folks in the mine, you said they used to buy stuff. Fans, canaries, all those little trinkets to make it bearable. There's still a lot of stuff done there. It feels cluttered but human. I just mean, all people need is enough to pretend we're home and we can make it anywhere. Sure, people can, but what about bats? Maybe we'll have to teach them. Hell, what am I saying? I know about 100% more on the subject of bats now than I did when we came down here. Oh, whoops. Whatever. I don't really mind. Go back. I missed the sign. I think that was just more about bat food, though. You can look in the last video anyways. This is all a repeat. You can skip this. one way. Careful up there. Can't drive your new truck if you slip and break your legs. Just don't fall asleep. Oh, very little risk of that. I've got a lot on my mind. I just mean, keep your eyes open, and don't look back. Flora. Oh, hi. I remember you. Shannon. Do you know where the telephone exchange operator is? Singing. I don't know what that means. I was just exploring. I like dark underground places. I'm a romantic. I think I'm more classical myself. That sounds like the same thing to me. Okay, bye. See you, Flora. Here's the shield. Rumored. The legend. The shield, softly, could be bypassed with another capacitor at 100 nanofarads to reduce noise. Are you Dashiell Morse? Him? I mean, me? Yes, I'm him. Sorry, I've been hacking on this thing all night. My thoughts are starting to come in alternating currents. We don't install this type of phone for customers anymore, but there are quite a few of them still in circulation. Anyway, the new system doesn't source enough current to ring these old bells, so I'm just trying to come up with a workaround. Maybe a little box the customer could attach right before the wall jack. So you do still work here, on the tugboat, though weren't really sure. Oh, well, yeah, I'm here just about every night. Is this your first time down here? Yeah, I can tell. Your eyes can't quite adjust to the light. It takes some practice. Believe it or not, I've been coming here since I was a kid. For one reason or the next. Back then, this place was a train station. It's true. They had bats then too, but they were considered a nuisance. What did you come here for, as a kid? I usually came here with my grandmother. We took the train out to the town she lived in, or in the other direction back to my parents' home. In my memories, it was always cold. Winter, I guess. Sometimes now I walk along the tunnel, run my hand along these wet stone walls, and close my eyes, ringing footsteps and the drip, drip, drip of the grimy stalactites. Well, the river shifted and this place slowly filled with water, carrying the trains away with the current. It does that, the river, and I don't begrudge it. It's a good reminder that everything we have is borrowed, even trains. Eventually, someone at the Bureau of Reclaimed Spaces heard this place was still empty, so they moved the phone company in here. I returned here as a young lineman, a skill I picked up in wartime running telephone wires behind enemy lines. We used trees instead of poles. I miss that, actually. They were easier to climb. It's just as well. I'm in no shape to be climbing anything these days. The closest I get is patching up the wiring in the crystal room for the WEVP folks. Did you ever know a girl named Weaver? Sure, Weaver Marquez. It's funny, I was just thinking about her. Yeah, I met her a couple times at the TV station. I suppose I didn't know her too well. She handled the archives and I was helping with wiring and stuff. She really seemed to know her way around all that gear, though. She had a head for the signals, I think. No idea where she ended up. I guess she's probably not too popular around the station anymore, but I always liked her. Listen, miss, if you're interested in WEVP, you should go talk to them directly. They're always looking for volunteers. Take the ferry over to the silo. There's a small mail stop there. They don't have a sign or anything, just ask around. I guess I'll get back to this damn old ringer. Poppy's just a little further down if you're dropping off that package. Nice chatting with you. Plaque, Abel and Eloise. Lovers, couriers. Bred for racing, Abel and Eloise spent most of their lives as carrier pigeons in the employ of the Echo River Avian Post. They retired here after Abel was disfigured in an accident with the light aircraft, but old habits were hard to die. Abel and Eloise would pick up scraps of paper from the ground, the trash, even pull them out of pockets and deliver them to other people nearby, to the delight or embarrassment. Word spread, and travelers passing through this tunnel began to come prepared with love letters, poems, and other written desires to pass along indirectly through these pigeons. After a hard day's work, Abel and Eloise would always be found nestled closely together in a disused newspaper stand set aside for their habitation, and that's where we left them. Poppy? Just set it right over there by the lamp, sweetie. Thanks. Actually, just a minute. Who does that parcel claim to be from? Consolidated Power Company. Oh dear, I'm afraid to open it. So, who are you? Do you work for the post office or the tugboat? I only ask because I haven't seen you before. Was that you I heard chatting down the hall? Yeah, I just met Dashiell. He's been working on that obsolete ringer, hasn't he? Poor Dashiell. You know, he's not really... He was let go a while back, a long while, actually. When they started restructuring, he was one of the first to go, but he talked them into letting him come every day and fiddle with some interminable project. Interminable, wow. He says it's to keep a long gap from growing his resume, but I think he's just nothing better to do. One of those old men who needs work, you know? Doesn't know how to be any other way. Well, there are no real jobs here, but there are fake jobs, I guess. It wasn't always like this. When I came to work at the Echo River Central Exchange, there were 12 of us. Loretta, Edna, Meg, Cara, Mary, Luis, Liz, Hester, Angie, Wilma, Connie. I was number 12. Connie and I were hired on the same day, but she showed up early. Mary finished college, and Hester was fired for snapping at a root collar, but he had it coming, and I hear she did just fine on her own. So they hired Beryl, Jana, and Sachiko, which brought us up to 13, and that was as many operators as we ever had here at one time. Power company came along, buying up all the lines, and one day they took the exchange as a throw-in, like it was nothing, and they started phasing us out. Edna, Meg, Cara, and Lois, left one Friday evening, and they were asked not to come back on Monday morning. Beryl saw the writing on the wall and quickly found employment at a private PBX. They had Jana and Liz stop writing calls and write up some kind of best practices document instead. It was their final task as exchange employees. Some of the girls were reassigned to other divisions. Connie, I think, was checking residential meters. Sachiko and Wilma were moved into energy sales, cold calling businesses to see if they needed to upgrade their electricity plan. At least they were still on the phone. Then it was just Loretta, Angie, and me. We were swamped. The hours were hell and hard on the throat. The voice with a smile became a croak. I was gargling warm salt water in the break room, sipping from a thermos full of hot honey broth stashed under my chair. Oh, I brought a lot of extended technique to the switchboard in those days. Sounded pretty good to me. Yeah, I'm impressed. So, where was I? Hot honey broth and warm salt water. Right, and a healthy dose of slippery elm. I got that one from Kate. So, after a few months, it was just me. A new automaton strategy was announced, and this place was rechristened Consolidated Auxiliary Switch Number 30. Are you lonely? Sure, this place feels different when it's empty, cold to the touch. And, you know, it really is all about touch here. Sound is a vibration, a touch you feel in your ear. So my voice is my touch. When we're talking, we're touching, even on the phone. That's an electric touch, an intimate little shock that makes your tiny hairs tremble. But that's not even what I mean when I say it's all about touch here. When the power company first tried automating this old exchange with fancy new transistor arrays, the switchboard caught fire. It was just too much, too fast. So they tried using some clunky old mechanical relays, but then the calls were getting mismatched and out of sync. It was a nightmare. Their technicians determined that the phone system down here had been designed ad hoc over decades, around the specific tempo of its human operators. So, short of replacing the whole thing, not to mention all the wiring, they have to work out the exact timing of every little human gesture that goes into routing the phone call. And that, officially, is my role here. I run the switchboard for the whole exchange. Once the work of 12, I'd like to remind you, they have some kind of machine down somewhere that tracks how long it takes me to do each little thing. The caller never hears my voice now. They dial, my little indicator lights switch on, and I make the connection. That's interesting. What's the machine like? Oh, it's funny. I've never actually seen it. They told me just to carry on patching while it collects and collates in the background until it's ready to take over. There's a dark thought. What if there is no cheap machine that's going to replace me? What if it's cheaper just to keep me here, filling in for the rhythm of the operators? What if I'm the cheap machine? You're not a machine. Nice of you to notice. I'm more in the Echo River Central Exchange, and I'll carry a torch for the voice with a smile, but at least I'm keeping some part of it human, right? Even if it's not the best part. Oh, the parcel, right over there by the lamp, is fine. Thank you for dropping that off. Take care. Think of me when you dial 0. I'm just realizing now that choice, the skull or the arrow, I think that's facing or turning away from Shannon. She returned on the dinghy, alone. She had a strong and sudden urge to shut the motor off and let the current take her, but she couldn't work out where the impulse came from, so she did her best to resist it. She met a painter of shipwrecks. He never worked from photographs, so his paintings could be divided into 2 categories. There were the ones he painted from life, and the Echo River was a very good source for these because its currents were so unpredictable and the tunnels so dark. He rendered these in oil paint by lamplight, working for hours cross-legged on the porch of his houseboat/studio. Then there were the ones he painted from memory. Mostly the memory of a single wreck he encountered as a much younger man, picking up litter where the coastal highway cleaves to the rocky benches of the beaches of northern California. These were done in watercolor. He preferred to work on them in the morning, in a room he rented near the airport in Louisville. He had some postcard-sized sketches in charcoal, too, of the Iron Pariah. It wasn't a wreck exactly, but it felt right. He tried to scribble one down every time he encountered it, though it was so unpredictable and he was so focused on details, he usually just ended up with a handful of inscrutable marks. She met a family of 5 on a flat-bottomed skiff. The boat was loaded to capacity, with black plastic bags and a few larger pieces of furniture wrapped in a blue tarp. 3 paddled, the 2 adults and the older child. The 2 younger children slept. They'd been traveling all night, first by car and then for the last few hours by boat. Hungry and tired, they didn't plan to stop until they reached West Virginia, where a relative had offered to take them in. But the adults were happy to take a break from paddling in weary silence. They asked her about her river journey. She told them about the memorial. They were sympathetic. No minors in their family, but he was once injured at a warehouse job and had to fight for disability pay. They knew what these companies were like, and what it was like to have to assert your humanity to them. She wished her well. They wished her well and paddled on toward West Virginia. He met a guitar player pedaling a floating bicycle with his dog in tow. He said they took turns. The water was cold and the floating bicycle, while technically marvelous, wasn't quite buoyant enough for the both of them. Swimming is hard work, the hardest work the dog had ever done, he expected. They'd been traveling this way for most of the night, struggling through icy water, stopping to recover when they could find a rock large enough to start a small campfire. He had his belongings stuffed into a weathered guitar case at the end of a thin rope. It floated pretty well, so he only had to keep an eye on it and occasionally free it from the rock or some driftwood it was caught on. She invited him to ride a ways on the dinghy. He appreciated the offer, but they weren't in a hurry. She gave in, cut off the motor, and floated for a while. Then she knew what she had been craving, a moment of silence. Salmonitas. Ida. I'd say Ida, but it's a more American thing. I don't know. Ida. What's the difference? Preference, probably. Kate. Just in time. We've already finished eating, but we're about to place a to-go order for Clara. She's back on board, getting ready for her show. Take a look at the menu. I'm sure there's something you'll like. Ida's a bit of a local celebrity, for her cooking, I mean. Junebug. Hey, Ezra was just asking about you. He's around the corner playing a video game. Maybe go let him know you two are back, or... Where's the old man, anyway? Johnny. Oh, bad luck. You'll get it next time. To Shannon. Hey, got a quarter? He's almost got this. Ezra. It's true. Shannon. Sure, I have 1 quarter. Ezra. Thank you. Johnny. So, where's... They took him. Damn. Yeah, he really got himself in a situation there. Shannon. Yeah, I'm gonna go sit down. Cool. The food is good here. I think everyone else is finishing up, but you could probably get something to go. Ezra. Alright, Claw Maestro. Let's give it another shot. So, let's see what's on the top of the pile. Here, there's a stuffed octopus, a plastic bag full of clamshells, a cowboy hat, and some big headphones. That octopus has a leg wrapped around the boombox underneath it. The shells are pretty clear, but I don't know if the claw can really grip the bag well. The cowboy hat is in the corner, so it's kind of tricky to tell if it's wedged in or not. Those headphones might be a good bet, but I can't see the cord. It could be wrapped around something. Let's try the cowboy hat this time. Sounds good. Hope we can get the claw back far enough to get a grip on it. Okay, when I put this quarter in, you'll have about 8 seconds to grab your prize. The hat is in the back right corner. Let me know if you need help lining it up. I've got a slightly different view of the field from up here. Ready? Here we go. Johnny inserts the coin and the machine awakens. The claw hovers in the front left corner of the machine. Up. Halfway along the left wall. Up. The claw hovers in the back left corner of the machine. Right. The claw lowers halfway along the back wall of the machine. Right. Claw hovers in the back right corner of the machine. Ezra, does this look right? Johnny, yeah, looks good to me. Go for it. Ezra pushes the button to drop the claw. The claw drops. It grabs the hat. The claw is only able to get a hold of the brim. It's not strong enough to grip. It's not a strong enough grip to pull the hat without the machine. That was a rough sentence for me. Whoops. Johnny. Sorry, kid. The hat would look good on you too, but I guess it's just too far back in the corner. Hey, listen, it sounds like that old man you were following around. I guess he had to leave. Is he okay? Yeah, he's okay. I mean, I'm sure he could be better, but I don't think we need to worry about him. Anyway, I don't know what kind of plans you have now, but if you need help figuring out what your next move, you can always talk to me and Miss Junebug. I just wanted to make sure you know that. Could I keep going with you? Hey, I've got no objection. We've got a pretty ad hoc thing going on, me and Junebug. I'd have to talk to her, but I bet you're welcome to tag along for a while if you're into it. Hey, maybe we still have time to poke around this place a little. Maybe they have some pretty wild stuff in here. Johnny. Hey, did you see this? They keep a table full of fake food over here. I've never known why. Actually, I think it might be real food coated with shellac or something. Preserved. Oh, and look, this tentacle-looking thing is half-eaten. This is someone's meal that they didn't finish. Ezra. Tentacle? Gross. Johnny. Man, I don't know. Some people really like that stuff. I had some fried calamari once at a gas station. It was pretty good, but I stripped a gear trying to chew the beak. They're supposed to take that out. Sam and Ida preserved this half-eaten meal. It must have been pretty important to them, right? Maybe it belonged to someone they care about, like a beloved uncle that had a mid-meal stroke, so they kept it in his memory. Yeah, like those sunflower seeds my folks left behind. Oh, I'm sure your folks are fine, though. Are you worried about them? No, they're gone. There's nothing to worry about. I just miss them. Okay, well, I don't know what the deal is with this table, but sometimes people do weird stuff because they miss someone. Kate. Weird. Somehow I thought it was his truck. And delivery and all. Bug. It was. That's what she's saying. But he gave it to her before they took him away. Kate to Shannon. But you're going to deliver it anyway? Why? Somebody's waiting for those antiques. Well, have you got a name or just an address? Maybe it doesn't matter. Even having discharged all that whatever it is onto my lawn, I'm sure you'd still have fulfilled your friend's obligation. Onto the lawn. Onto the lawn, not my lawn. The lawn. Where did I get my from? I don't know. Junebug. Johnny and I'll help you unload when we get there. Junebug to Johnny. Lift with your legs, Cricket. Johnny. Yes, ma'am. Ida. So how was everything? To Junebug. How was the sweet cave snail? Junebug. Devastating. You're a killer, Ida. Ida. Well, I can't take all of the credit. Sam came across a whole cave snail colony down there about a year back, and we've been leaving rock candy for them to gorge on since. We've just started harvesting earlier this month. Yes, it's all about patience down here. Everything grows more slowly in the dark. There's a fish in Lake Lethe that lives to 200 years, and its flavor profile only develops at about 75. I've got a pot of bones in there that's been stewing for at least a week. I don't even remember why I put them on. Come to think of it, I don't even remember what kind of bones they are. Kate. Oh, we need one for the road. Clara said she wanted, something primordial, she said. What does that mean? Kate reviews the menu. She must have meant something simple. Could be. Hands Shannon the menu. Here, you pick. I'm not good at this. Shannon inspects the menu. Blind prawn cakes with cranberry butter sauce. Ida. Good choice. Your friend will love it. I'll have that right out, sweetie. Ezra leans over the table and carefully examines the preserved food and drink. He runs his finger along a grayish claw. The surface of the claw is completely smooth. Ida. And that was the small one. They're asymmetrical. Sorry I startled you, sweetie. Whose food is this? This is the diver's table, and this was the diver's meal. This food is just about 15 years old. It's true. Things were different then. Nobody came to eat here. We were just fighting just to keep the lights on. Sam, my husband, Sam, was depressed. We couldn't catch anything. That was part of the problem. Most of what we served was shipped in frozen or dried, and I just threw it in the fryer. We've both come a long way since then. Well, 2 young men came in for dinner. Seasoned divers, they said. Over 10,000 hours between them in Lake Lethe alone. They'd been out all day, salvaging parts from a riverboat wreck, and had worked up a fierce hunger, they said. They ordered the whole menu without even looking. It was a short menu in those days. I sat them right here and went back to the kitchen. Sam was at the next table doing a Sudoku and drinking malt liquor, his usual routine at the time. An hour later, I was cleaning up when Sam came bursting into the kitchen. Ida, he said, kind of frantic. These divers are still hungry. Bring them another course. And I said, they already ordered the whole menu. Sam said, make something new. Keep making up dishes, whatever. Just keep bringing up food. So I did, until the small hours of the morning. I made up so many new dishes that night I could write a book. It was good, inspired. But I was working so hot and fast at the burning edge of inspiration, I didn't think to write any of it down. And I was so wrecked with exhaustion the next day, I knew I couldn't remember what all I'd done in the kitchen. Sam thought he could take a photograph of the leftovers, but we couldn't get the lighting right, so we just shellacked the whole table. Now, when I need inspiration for the menu, I come and look here and think about all those ingenious dishes I threw together for those divers. Of course, they didn't pay their full bill. I heard one of them complaining to the other, let's just pay half and let them charge the other half to whatever demon in the kitchen kept making up food faster than we can ask for it. But it all worked out. Things have really turned around since then. This place is actually pretty popular now. The success, our expanded menu, inspired Sam too. He started bringing back the most magnificent ingredients from his nightly dives. I'd better get back to work. Stay right here, sweetie, and I'll bring you a treat on my way back out. Well, buddy, says Sam, I guess you're the catch of the day, the one and only. So what are you? You look like, well, some kind of squid, I guess. Kind of a mopey little guy, huh? Yeah, I can see it in your eyes. You smell like kind of dusty, dry. Where the hell have you been swimming? Skin feels like sandpaper. Huh. Well, she'll figure something out. I think I'll call you the gentle squid. Welcome to Sam Anita's, the one and only gentle squid. I hope you enjoy your stay. I mean, not too much. Have you ever seen a creature like me before? Pretty far down there. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm the first, except there were 2 divers who went before me long ago. Maybe that was before your time. How old are you anyway, I wonder? They ate here once, back in the bad old days. 2 young guys, could have been brothers, maybe. I was over in the corner with my coffee and crossword. I hadn't been able to catch a thing, so Ida just fried up something from frozen. Well, these guys were hungry enough to eat it and asked for more, and they did at least as much talking as eating. See, like I said, they were divers, and like I said, they might have been brothers. They had a kind of rivalry going between them or something. Ida was about to write up their check, but I slipped calmly and quietly into the kitchen for a minute and told her to just keep bringing out food. I figured they wouldn't notice, caught up in their boasting as they were, and I wanted to listen. They went back and forth for hours about all the deep and dangerous dives they've been on, new tunnels they discovered, all the weird creatures they'd encountered at the weirdest depths of the lake. It was like a dance, no, like a boxing match. Each story went deeper than the last. And I listened to every word of it, memorized every description of every tunnel and diving route they'd discovered. That's my map now, you see. For 15 years, I've been using routes for those 2 young divers discussed right there at that table. Yeah, I could write a guidebook to the depths of this lake, but I don't dare. Someone would steal my good diving spots, and then where would it be? See, people come here from all over just to try our daily catch because they know it's unique. Ain't you proud? Since I can't write any of it down, I just preserved that table where they had their meal so I could look at it to jog my memory, like, well, they were eating pickled crab when they talked about that shipwreck full of salamanders. Pretty clever, huh? It's my own secret code. Well, I'll be straight with you, gentle squid. There is one feature of this arrangement that I find unsettling. In fact, I lose a decent amount of sleep over it. I told you those boys were competing, right? One-upping each other, I mean, each getting wilder and more adventurous as they traded tales. Well, I navigate mostly in the dark down there, just going by touch and a kind of mental picture I can construct from their detailed boasts. And every time I explore a new diving spot from those recollections, I have to weigh it all against the risk that I'm headed right into a dangerous falsehood. One of those men could have felt for a moment like he was losing some ground in the little duel, so he could have slipped a fake one in there. Maybe told a fib about some dive that he went on and found a colony of blind shrimp living in a discarded refrigerator. And when I get down there, my diving bell cracks open on a sharp rock where he said that fridge would be. And that's the end of Sam Anita's Sam Anita. Sam of Sam Anita. I messed it up a second time. To be honest, that possibility puts the fear of death in me every time I touch water. Hey Sam, good haul tonight? Sam, we'll see what she can make of it. Yeah, pretty good, I think. I hit some trouble down by the narrow tunnel. Some kind of fast-growing freshwater barnacles just about sealed it up. I picked away for half an hour before I gave up and went around the other way. But I got the catch of the day. That's the important part. That's what people travel for. Shannon. Pretty cold for diving here, right? Sam. The cold I can handle. I've got an oil heater and the diving bell, and if it's really bad, I might take a nip of something here and there. Only stay for a drink. I've got a dark rum that goes well with coffee. I think we're about to leave, but thanks, said Shannon. Just passing through. Hey, aren't we all? Oh, she's got your food ready. You all enjoy your meal, all right?
This world is not my home. I'm just passing through. My treasures and my hopes are placed beyond the blue. Many friends and kin have gone on before, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you
Shannon inspects Homer's eyes.
I have no friend.
She can't tell if Homer is staring back or just staring.
If heaven's not
She tilts her head a little to the left, but Homer doesn't track her movement.
Oh Lord, what will I do? Angels beckon me to heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore.
See that? Just looks like a swirling mess of garbage, doesn't it? Well, that's what it is. I don't know why trash seems to collect right here, of all the spots on the lake. It's always been that way. Everyone just navigates around it like it was an island or something. Look closely, you can see some wood scraps from the old canoe rental shop. Gemini Canoe and Firewood. That place is run by twin sisters, Cassie and, Paula, I think. This was years ago. They used to rent out canoes to tourists, campers, pilgrims, folks like that. They must have had some kind of deal with the distillery. You'd always see a couple of Hard Times boys posted up on the dock, peddling small bottles to their customers. Cassie and Paula worked those old canoes to death, wrung every penny out of them. They'd only take one out of commission when it was truly, demonstrably dangerous. You couldn't get a refund unless your boat was visibly taking on water. The side business in Firewood was a stroke of minor genius. Yeah, this cluttered place makes a decent local museum. It's as good a history as I could ever tell. We arrived at a small houseboat neighborhood that sometimes hosted concerts for the pleasure of its residents. Clara was scheduled that night to perform. Ezra stayed on the tugboat to help Clara with her performance. Clara, this is a very special tape player you have right there. It can play forwards or backwards, slow or fast. You may discover some completely new sounds tonight, Ezra. So, are you ready? Yeah. Excellent. I can tell you have a good intuition for sound, and that's very important in this piece. Any questions before we begin? How do I know what to do? Play your tape player. You may play any tape at any speed and volume, even backwards. Just listen to the music and use your intuition. Or it may be better if you try not to listen to the music. This technique is called indeterminacy. What will it sound like? There's only one way to find out. What's the name of your music? It doesn't have a name. Would you like to name it? Well, it's better without a name. I agree. Alright, let's begin. Ezra selects a tape labeled Stew. He plays the tape backwards, very slowly. Ezra selects the tape labeled Sleeping. He plays the tape slowly at first, but gradually speeds up. Ezra selects the tape labeled Kukion Kombucha. He fiddles restlessly with the volume knob. Ezra selects the tape labeled Mammoth. He flicks the volume knob on and off, rhythmically. Thank you, Ezra. Was that okay? Oh, I don't think I understand your question. I was just pressing buttons, but you're like a theremin scientist. A scientist? Oh no. But like a scientist, I experiment. Unlike a scientist, I have no hypothesis. I try not to be attached to outcomes. Does that make sense? My violin teacher used to tell me to play like a tourist. Act as though you've never been there before. I hope you'll continue making tapes, Ezra. I'm sure there are many more people who would enjoy listening to them on this river and elsewhere. I met a photographer once. I mean, one in particular. She even took my portrait, I can't imagine why. She said it would immortalize me. That was a metaphor, of course. She meant I'd never be forgotten. As she was disembarking, not far from here actually, the film fell out of her bag and was borne away by the current. I was working on deck at the time. She shot me a sad, apologetic glance, but I wasn't bothered. It's no shame to be forgotten. Our passengers, one lighter, disembarked at the mail stop by the silo. I couldn't seem to get that old truck started up again, but we managed to roll it off the barge with only a minor scrape or two. At the last minute, Clara decided to travel with them for a while. Kate and I said goodbye to our friends, new and old, and the mucky mammoth rumbled on down the echo. Act 4, Scene 12. Silo of Late Reflections. Clara, what's this place like? Dogwood Drive. It's in a small town, or... Shannon, I really don't know. I've got the manifest the old man had in his truck here. Reading. He sets antiques, mail order delivery, no return address, shipping address, 5 Dogwood Drive, packing list, and then it's just numbers. I guess the inventory numbers of the antiques he was supposed to be delivering. Anyway, I'm glad you're coming with us. Clara. Yes, I'm always eager to see more of the country, and I enjoy the company. I'll have to find a bus or a train to get on to Nashville by evening. Shannon. Well, they have buses everywhere, right? Or, hey, I could drive you to Nashville. Seems I have a truck now, only... How are we gonna get it up these stairs? Bug, that's quite a staircase. Shannon. Is there something we could do with the rope? Junebug. Sure, I can think of a few things. Nothing that'll get the truck up the staircase, though. Looks like we're making the rest of this trip on foot. Shannon. I don't even know what's in there. What if it's too much to carry? Junebug. Nah, we've been loading and unloading gear since the stars were young. We're our own roadies, right? We've got expertise. Junebug to Johnny. All right, Cricket. Let's get this delivery packed and tied into bundles. We're hiking it upstairs. Ezra. What's in there? Johnny. Antiques, I guess. Ezra. Antiques. Johnny. Yeah, antiques are... It's like junk, but people will pay for it. Ezra. Oh. Shannon to Clara. Sorry, I guess you'll be taking the bus after all. Clara. It's okay. It'll be an adventure. Shannon sighs and stretches. Junebug. Tired? Don't worry, lady. We're almost there. End of Act 4. I hope you enjoy Unplayable Donata next time. For now, I need a drink, and I'm very tired.